Prime Minister, he's responding to the criticism from Netanyahu. The Bush summit continues on 6:03.
I engage with them in a diplomatic way. I contacted Prime Minister Netanyahu and met with him over the phone. We had a long discussion prior to the cabinet meeting, which was held last Monday morning. At that time, I gave Prime Minister Netanyahu a clear indication of my view and Australia's view going forward, but also a clear indication of the direction in which we were headed. I gave him the opportunity to outline what political solution there was and gave him that opportunity. We, of course, in Australia, my job is to represent the Australian national interest, and I think that Australians very much want two things to happen. One, they want people to stop killing each other, whether it be Israelis or Palestinians. Second thing that they want is for conflict to not be brought here. That is the way that I engage. That's the way I engage with other leaders internationally as well, including last night. The discussion I had participated in a coalition of the willing discussion with other democratic leaders convened by President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer. There were a range of leaders from Europe as well as Canada, Prime Minister Carney, Prime Minister Luxon from New Zealand, Prime Minister Ishiba from Japan, and others talking about the meeting that was held with President Trump and President Zelensky and other leaders, and looking towards peace. What we want to see is peace and an end to conflict, whether it be in Ukraine or whether it be in the Middle East. And there's been a long-term bipartisan position for two states, State of Israel, State of Palestine, living side by side. That was the vision in 1947 when the decision was made for two states, a majority Jewish state of Israel and a Palestinian state living side by side with security. We welcome the discussions and the role that the United States has played in supporting a peaceful resolution there over the last 24 hours. The announcement that there could be a breakthrough, the release of hostages, a ceasefire, is what I think Australians want to see.
Prime Minister, why do you think Netanyahu is targeting you publicly?
I don't take these things personally. I engage with people. Diplomatically, he's had similar things to say about other leaders. What I say is that Israel, of course, increasingly there is a global concern. And global concern because people want to see an end to the cycle of violence that we have seen for far too long. That is what Australians want to see as well.
In relation to Benjamin Netanyahu, Tony Burke said strength is not measured by how many people you can blow up. Do you think that Netanyahu is acting within international law by killing as many people as Tony Burke suggests?
I've stated my views. I want to see peace and security for both Israelis and Palestinians, and too many innocent lives have been lost. If you go back to the resolution that was carried by the Parliament after October 7, I think it stands the test of time. It condemned. You asked a question, so I get to answer it. That's the way it works. So October 7, the Parliament condemned unequivocally the actions of Hamas as a terrorist organisation. We then went on to say that Israel had a right to defend itself. How it defended itself mattered, and it needed to do that within international law, and that there needed to be respect for innocent lives. Do I think too many innocent lives have been lost? Yes, I do. What's important is that the international community thinks that as well overwhelmingly, and also that is what Australians see. Australians look at their TV coverage, in spite of the fact that there's limited media presence in Gaza. They look at what's happening there. They look at the increased settler violence in the West Bank. They look at the decision that Israel has made in March to restrict the access of aid, food and water that people in Gaza needed. And they look at that and they think that something needs to change. The cycle of violence needs to change. Australia's a part of a global community.
Can I just ask you about the
Hang on.
The productivity roundtable?
Yeah, and then we'll go there.
I've got one more question on Netanyahu, if I can, before we change subjects. How do you get...
Hang on, where you go. You're the call.
Circling back to those
And then we'll go.
investment corporation,
Yeah.
the new program you mentioned, how effective are those RIC loans when the current rate is frozen at 5.18% and people can actually access better interest on their loans through commercial lenders?
Well, this will be a program that we'll work through, including talking with people directly impacted on it. It won't be exactly the same as the RIC, but it will be done through them. It's important because that's a pool of funding that is available, and that is why we've done it through it, because it looks at the longer term issues rather than a bushfire event, which is obviously immediate. People have lost their homes. The RIC, what it looks at is resilience as well going forward.
Prime Minister, how do you get the relationship with Israel back on track from here?
We'll continue to put forward Australia's position, and Australians want those two things. They want the cycle of violence to stop, and they don't want conflict brought here. And that is very clear, and that's been the response from leaders of the community who've contacted me, including today, contacted me to say that they believe that the government is acting responsibly. We're acting not alone either. I mean, this is something that is seeing global leaders. We know 147 countries recognise Palestine. Overwhelming majority, 3/4 of the world's nations recognise Palestine now. What you have had is countries, including the United Kingdom, France, other countries as well, statements by Germany, Italy, other countries joining these statements. Canada, of course, have said as well they will recognise through Prime Minister Carney and to actually have a path forward for peace, that two states side by side, no role for Hamas, people making that very clear as well. And you can't just say we'll just continue to do the same thing, the cycle of violence. We have said very clearly, as have other democratic Western nations have said very clearly, that the idea that you would just occupy Gaza city and continue to do more of the same in the same way, just as Prime Minister Netanyahu said more than a year ago when we had a discussion. It was very similar. You just can't keep doing the same thing. What we need to do is to break that cycle of violence here and then here and here, and then we'll.
The Prime Minister says he doesn't take criticism from Netanyahu personally. He's going to continue to operate diplomatically. If you'd like to keep watching, you can.